Nice to meet you, Lois. Go
Edna.
So, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background and your role at the Nehemiah project?
Yes, fantastic. Yes, so I've been at the Nehemiah project for it'll be 3 years next Friday, which has gone very fast. And I am a professional fundraiser. I've been fundraising for over 25 years for different voluntary organisations and not-for-profit organisations, and both here and I also did a year in Nigeria. And over the last 10 years, I've specifically fundraised for Christian organisations.
Right.
And I'm currently the development director at the Nehemiah project. So my role is to raise all the funding needed to keep the 5 houses that we have now operating in South London, to keep them going so that we can support the men that we serve.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So I also, I live in Cambridge.
Oh.
And so I'm used to working remotely. I used to go into pre-COVID, go into Streatham once or twice a week, and work from home for the rest. So I'm quite used to working from home remotely. I'm Christian and attend Cambridge Community Church. I'm a member of the Cambridge.
Excellent. Yeah. So, whilst a lot of people are getting used to working from home, it's a normal thing for you, really.
Yeah. But I do miss the interaction with the staff team. Although we have daily Zoom meetings and regular team meetings, it's different, isn't it? And I do miss that, and also meeting the men, the residents as well, at Nehemiah.
Great. So I suppose tell us a bit more about the Nehemiah project and what you do there.
Yes, so the Nehemiah project has been operating for over 20 years, and it provides, it's a Christian-based organisation, and it provides a home and support for vulnerable men with a history of addiction and crime, and often homelessness. So the majority of the men that we support actually come to us directly from prison. We provide a service, a holistic service. So when a man joins Nehemiah, they're provided with their own room. We support them to do their benefit application. We give them sort of emergency support before that benefit application comes through, and they participate in a 12-week recovery program. They must participate. It's part of their license agreement to get that support. So that includes attending a daily program, a daily group program, which addresses the fundamental issues of addiction and the root causes of their addiction. It's cognitive behavioural therapy based program, and it's delivered by our specialised in-house staff at Nehemiah. So they're on a 12-week program, and they also receive one-to-one key work support. So they have their own key work, and they have that support for everything. We basically try to help them recover their lives. A man must, before men join Nehemiah, they have to be abstinent from drugs and alcohol for at least 4 weeks. And really, they've had to make that decision to change their lives. They've made the decision that enough is enough. They want to change their lives and for themselves and their families, and that's why they've come to Nehemiah. And so we're just there to support and facilitate that process. So once they've been on the 12-week program and they've completed that, they then attend a special employment and training program that we've started, and that's in partnership with Clean Sheet, another Christian organisation that works and helps ex-offenders gain employment. So they come in and do the actual course. They do a week's course with our men and then provide the ongoing employment and training support. And then Then the residents graduate. We have a lovely graduation ceremony. Some of your church members may have already been involved in that and have seen that, but you're all welcome. We've just had one yesterday. In fact, we had a virtual one for 2 of our men that were graduating from our Croydon house. And it's an opportunity for us to celebrate them completing the programme. In some cases, men that are with us have never completed anything, have never been on a recovery programme, got any qualifications, or have started and completed anything. So it can be a really great step for the men that do that. And it can be a very moving and touching occasion, really, because, you know, they tell us about their journey, how Nehemiah's had an impact, what their plans are for the future. And yesterday, in fact, we had the sons of the 2 men that had graduated on our Zoom call, and it was, you know, they spoke as well, and just talked about how they'd seen a positive change in their fathers, how that had made a difference, how they were going to continue to support them when they'd finished. And for one of the residents that graduated yesterday, their son actually was online, but he was on the bus coming to the project, and then when the graduation had finished, he knocked on the door, and he met his father, and actually hadn't seen him for 5 years because of his addiction, of the father's addiction, and false promises and expectations, etc. So this was the first time that he was able to really meet with his father. So it can make a huge difference to the men and their families. Once our residents complete the programme and they've graduated, they're then eligible to move on into our move on houses. So at the moment we have 5 houses in South London. We've got 2 first stage houses, one in Streatham, that's an 8-bedroomed house in Streatham, and we also have a house in Croydon, a 6-bedroomed house in Croydon. The Streatham house at the moment has currently just undergone a full refurbishment, and that's now finished and completed, and we'll be accepting our new residents into that house shortly. So it's very exciting because it was really in need of a refurb. Any of the church members that have been will have seen that. So it's had new kitchens, bathrooms, decorated throughout, new flooring, new patio. It's had a full refurb, so it's very exciting. So we've got these lovely 2 first stage houses, and then we've got 3 second stage move on houses, one at Croydon, one at Clapham, and one in Wandsworth. And so those residents can move into there, and they can stay for up to 2 years, and they still receive support from our staff regularly. They have the key work support, they have house group meetings, they can phone and speak to any member of staff anytime, and they also get regularly drug and alcohol tested. So within the first stage and the second, they get randomly tested by our staff, and that really helps them to keep on track and keeps them motivated. Yes, so we have a lot of contact with our former residents as well, those that move on eventually from our move on houses into independence, and it's really great to see and hear how they're carrying on their recovery journey, what they're doing. It's really satisfying to hear some of the really good stories about how they're getting on.
Yeah.
So that's sort of Nehemiah in a sort of nutshell, and what we do and how we support the men. Last year we supported 41 men despite COVID-19.
I was going to
which
ask
is
that question.
actually quite staggering. We've just completed our impact report, and yeah, we supported 41 men throughout the year, and 16 men graduated from the programme. We had 3 graduation ceremonies last year, 2 face-to-face and 1 virtual, And we were still able to operate throughout the whole of COVID. When we had our first lockdown, we supported our men remotely through Zoom sessions and online and phone. And we were fortunate in that the majority of the men at that point had already either completed the programme or were due to complete very shortly. So they were all in a fairly good space. We didn't have brand new residents that we needed to support. So we were very fortunate. And we supported them until we could then go back into the houses face to face in June, which we did. And then we've continued to do that, providing staff in each house. So yeah, that's why our figures are quite a lot, quite good. We were expecting a sort of drop, a quite a significant decrease in the numbers of men that we could support this year, but that's not actually been the case. And yeah, they've done really well, actually, considering, and despite COVID, a number have done really well.
Yeah. So Lois, how do people hear about you to take on your services? How do they hear?
So we have a fantastic referrals coordinator, Paul DaCosta, and he liaises with a number of organisations out in the community that can refer men to us, different charitable organisations, homelessness organisations, but also, more importantly, inside prisons and the prison service, the probation service, the Forward Trust, other organisations, chaplains within the prison. And we tend to take men from the London prisons, but we do also take men from other prisons that hear about our work, and the men want to be, or have some sort of connection, or want to move into the London area. And yeah, that's how they hear. A man can be referred by an organisation, by an agency, or a person within the prison, or they can self-refer. So we do have self-referrals as well. And often, by chance, a man will pick up a Nehemiah leaflet inside a prison, read about it, hear about it, and decide to make an application and get support from one of the prison staff to help them do that. But we're always continually talking to people so that we keep the steady flow of men coming into the charity.
Yeah, sure. That's great. And so how are you able to share the gospel with the men that you support?
Well, Nehemiah is, although we're a Christian-based charity, there isn't a Christian element to the recovery programme. We take men of all faiths or no faith within the organisation. And we don't, there isn't a sort of evangelical side of the programme, but what we do have is a weekly prayer group. So we have 2 chaplains that come in, and a Protestant and a Catholic chaplain that work together and come into the charity every week. They've been doing that through Zoom and do a weekly prayer meeting. And we've got a number of our residents that actually attend that. And we often find that men have gone to the chapels and have quite a lot of connection in prison with the chaplains as well. And they've already started thinking about a relationship with Jesus before they've even come to Nehemiah, some of them. And so, if they want to talk to us, we'll talk to them about it. But we have the chaplains doing the prayer support. But often what we do find is that those residents that have got a faith will talk to the other residents about faith too. And last year we had 3 baptisms.
Wow.
Which was really nice.
Yeah.
We even had one of our residents get married. Yeah. And just before Christmas, one resident got baptised at the church next door to our house in Croydon. So it's a Church of England church, and it's right next door, which is very handy. to our Croydon house. And it was actually one of the residents who'd become a member of the church and actually sits on their PCC now.
Okay.
And they encouraged this other resident to start attending, and he actually got baptized on the 20th of December, actually. I think it was the 20th, or yeah. And so that's really lovely. And so, you know, we tend to find that people do find or hear about the gospel without us having to, you know, develop or devise things within the program itself. Yeah, it works out quite natural in an organic process. It's really good.
Excellent. Well, those are some amazing examples of transformed lives there. And so, you know, St Mildred's is made up of a broad range of people, both young and old. And so, what are some of the things that you could help share with our younger audience about your work?
Yeah, well, all the men that join Nehemiah, all the residents, you know, their sons, their fathers, their sometimes grandfathers, and you know, they often have, even if they don't have their own children, they have nephews and nieces that they are supportive of and want to develop a relationship with. Often, some of our men have lost contact with their families because of their behaviour, being in and out of prison, and their lifestyle, and it's quite sad. And it would be really nice for the children and the young people to actually pray for the children of our residents, because they want that relationship with their father as much as the father wants a relationship with their children. And it's just to pray for reconnection, and so that the relationships can be improved and developed, and through the recovery of their fathers. That would be really lovely. Yeah. So that's the first thing we'd like the children to do, to pray for the children of our residents, but also for them just to reflect and think about addiction. Addiction affects so many people across the society. It doesn't just affect a small group of people. And what we find is that a lot of our residents, it seems to be a pattern within their lives. A lot of the residents started their addiction at a very young age, sometimes 11 or 12 years old. They may have experimented something at school, got into the wrong crowd, whatever, but their addiction really starts at a young age, and might just be something quite minor, or they feel that it's something quite minor at the age of 12 or 13, and develops. And the consequences of those addictions are quite alarming. It's so damaging for them, for their own lives, but those of their families, and has huge knock-on effects for their parents, their own children, their families throughout their lives. So it's just to really think about what the consequences might be for experimenting or getting involved in drugs or addictive behaviour, and how that can really be damaging for people. There are quite a lot of resources out there for young people in this area, so I can provide some links to that, I think, that might be useful. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And also for us as a church, you know, we regularly have prayer meetings, and we always want to be praying for our mission partners. So what would you like us to pray for?
Oh gosh, we really, really need your prayer. You know, it was a challenging year last year. It's still challenging. Yes, it's praying for our residents. You know, our residents have, what we've noticed, especially our new residents that have come into us, they've been in prison and they've been locked up for 23 hours of the day with little access to any of the programs that they usually were on, or any work or educational work or training because of COVID. They've been really, really restricted. And so it's praying really for them. And as they join Nehemiah and adapting to this new way of life and the new program that they're on, it's also praying for their mental health. And what we've noticed over the last 12 months is that more of the men have more complex mental health issues than they had before. And we think that partly could be down to the lockdown as well, and just being very much restricted and not having the family contact that they had previously. So that's been really difficult for a lot of the men that have just joined the charity. We're noticing that already a big difference from previous people that came to us, previous men that came to us. So it's really praying for that, praying for those residents, that they give them the strength to and resolve to really help them recover their lives, and the motivation to do that. And it would be good, for example, for one church member to pray every, for 5 minutes every day for a month between the church. If we could do that, that would be, and there was somebody praying every day for Nehemiah, that would be fantastic. And also prayer for the staff, that our staff we've got a wonderful small team at Nehemiah doing great work. But as you can imagine, like everybody else, they've been impacted by COVID as well. And they've had to adapt to a new way of working more electronically than they have been before, but also have had impacts, have had COVID themselves or the family members, children working from home, and they're still having to try and support our men, lots of issues. And it's just to pray for strength and wisdom as they continue to support our men through the recovery program. So that would be really lovely. Something else that happened, sadly, just a few weeks ago, our IT consultant, who had worked with Nehemiah for many, many years, there was a great person, very suddenly passed away at the end of January, on the 28th of January. He was 51, died in his sleep of a heart attack, 2 daughters, absolutely no way of knowing that was going to happen. And so it's prayers really for him. His name is Andy, his family, but also we were in the middle of an IT upgrade. We'd got funding, we're having new computers, new server, new this network, etc. And that's really sort of, that Andy's passing has really had an impact on that as well. So it's just prayers really for us as we go through that. And
I'm very sorry to hear that. We will certainly pray into that for you.
Thank you. And prayers, we've had some great men successfully graduate, continue their journey of recovery over the past year, 2 years. And it's continued prayer for those men that they continue their recovery, that it's a daily battle often, and to give them the strength to carry on with that would be really great.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, definitely a number of things that we can stand with you and pray into for you. Thank you so much, Lois, for today. It's been really helpful hearing more about the Nehemiah Project, hearing more about the amazing work that you're doing and the people that you're supporting, and really about all the incredible difference it's making in their lives. I think that is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for taking some time and sharing that with us.